Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to MST.TV. This is Nishi here, and in today's video, we are going to have a bit of a discussion about Toon Chaos and whether or not I think that you should be buying into the set. So over the last week or two, we've seen both sides of the spectrum, right? People argued that Toon Chaos isn't really that good of a set with next to no meta impact, while other people are saying that it's going to retain a lot of value in the long run and is something that you should absolutely be investing in. So I thought that what we would do in today's video is go over both sides of the argument, and I'd share with you guys what we know about the set and then give you my opinion on the set overall and whether or not I think you guys should be buying into and investing in Toon Chaos. But before we get started guys, if you enjoy this type of discussion video and you want to continue to see more types of videos like this from me in the future, then please be sure to hit that thumbs up button for me and share your thoughts with me in the comments down below. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we have to discuss before we even really get into the set itself is the effects of just how kind of like the world is right now and how that will play into the mentalities of both stores and the player base in terms of product. So obviously with the virus still running around, it's harder to see a lot of product move, right? At the store level, a lot of stores are probably struggling to generate sales for themselves because there's no longer that additional foot traffic. They don't have people coming into the store for locals every week, especially for those that don't sell online. They're probably really lacking revenue right now. And with that lack of revenue and potentially riots like that are maybe influencing the overhead costs of these stores, we might just see stores charging more for the product in order to be able to stay in business. And because of this, we'll likely see a lot less product getting into the hands of players, and the product that does get into those hands will come at a higher cost. So players who are looking to move the cards will try to do so at a higher price in order to make back their costs, which will naturally just drive the prices upwards. We also have to remember that apparently with Toon Chaos, it was not printed nearly as much as people were expecting, and a lot of people were shorted on their orders in both Europe and in North America. Now, I don't know 100% for sure if this is at all caused by like rioting or if the crush card has affected the ability of factories to produce product, but something has affected the ability to generate enough of Toon Chaos in order to satisfy the store's demand for it. Apparently, stores are receiving as little as 20% of the orders that they initially placed, which definitely means that far less product is going to be open than usual. I think that overall, this indicates slightly higher prices than what we would normally expect to be seeing. Looking around at different sites online, right, I see prices for boxes of Toon Chaos that are slightly higher than what I'm used to seeing, especially for pre-orders. The distributors handing out less product than expected, as well as the fact that a lot of stores are struggling to generate sales in these harder times, are definitely contributing to the higher prices that we're seeing for sealed product, and these higher prices mean that players and stores that open this product will want to charge generally higher prices in order to ensure that they're still profiting. So next up, let's break down the actual cards themselves within the set. So just as a reminder, we get 7 cards per pack with 24 packs per box, and in each pack we get 6 rares and 1 holo. So rares essentially take the place of the commons in this set, which is kind of weird. I don't really know why they did that, but aside from that, you either get a super, an ultra, or a collector's rare. So from what I've seen roughly online, it is going to be 3 to 4 ultras per box, and the rest of your box is going to be supers. So the supers shouldn't have too much value because you're going to be pulling one in almost every single pack. And then apparently it is 3 collector's rares in a case, so approximately 1 in every 4 boxes. We will touch on the collector's rares closer to the end of this video, but for now, let's talk about the Toon cards. Now, we don't really know which cards are going to be short printed or anything, so we are going to assume that they are all evenly distributed. That is, you have just an equal chance to pull any Toon card as any other ultra rare in the set. Obviously, if one of the Toon cards were to be short printed, that's the one that's going to spike in value the most, but for now we'll assume they're all approximately the same price. So don't get me wrong, the Toon cards are actually pretty solid, really good for what the deck is trying to do, but as okay as these cards are, there is definitely no way that they're going to be a meta or top tier deck. They just don't really have like the power for that, I want to say. However, the deck is absolutely going to be a really big fan favorite deck, so I am 100% sure that a lot of casual players and a lot of fans of the original anime who saw Blue Eyes Toon Dragon and they saw Toon Mermaid, they're going to look at these cards and they're going to want to pick them up and collect them or maybe play the deck. So I think that initially we will see the prices of these Toon cards tank. They aren't meta cards, right? So people who are opening boxes looking for the collector's rares or the more competitive cards in the set aren't really going to care about them too much, and they will flood the market at first. But over time, casual players will want them. They're going to see these cards and they're going to disappear off the market and really gradually climb in price over time, and after they've had a chance to increase back up in price. Okay, so now we'll take a look at the Chaos stuff, and when I look at these cards, I see so much potential. Honestly, every single one of these cards has the potential to be really good in future formats. I don't know if that's going to happen like a year from now, or another couple of years from now, or a couple months away from now. But in my mind, something like Chaos Space has to be abused at some point, right? It's like a Signet mining, but it searches for broken cards like Chaos Dragon Levianeer or Dark Arm Dragon. Chaos Creator seems really simple, but the fact that you can put resources back into your main deck or extra deck and then also get a free body on board in addition to the Chaos Creator himself, yet it has such a simple summoning requirement just to get onto the board, is absolutely insane. And then even something really simple like Valkyrie of Chaos feels like just a generic good card that's a free extender for a lot of different combo decks. I'm really hyped for all of this Chaos stuff. It looks really cool. But the big thing you have to ask yourself here is, when is this stuff actually going to be meta relevant? With Adamancipators and Eldritch just being released and them being the two top decks of the format, I don't think that this is going to be anytime soon, right? So I don't think that now is the time where we're going to see any of these Chaos cards break into the meta or anything like that. However, I do think that these are cheap cards that you can pick up now to hold for later on down the road. Remember that with Chaos Space and Chaos Valkyrie, as super rares, they're going to be dirt cheap because you do get a super rare in like 20 out of your 24 packs. They're going to be realistically under a couple of dollars each. At those prices, I absolutely think that you should buy them or hold on to them if you can pay $1 each in cash, or if you can get them for like $2 a piece maybe in trades. This is like a set that is going to go out of circulation rather quickly, which will lead to them spiking in price when they do see play down the road. The same thing with the ultra rares, right? I would prioritize grabbing the Chaos Creator because I think it is just that crazy of a card, though it's probably not going to tank as low as the super rares. The fact that it's not going to be meta relevant right off the bat means that it is initially going to tank down in price, but that's a great time to buy this card and hold on to it. Also remember that as these cards are coming from side sets, they do take a lot longer to get reprinted than they would if they were in something like a main set. We can take a look at Necroz, which took like 3 years to get reprinted. We're still waiting for reprints of cards like Surzeal and the Infinitrax and the Prank Kids, so it is going to take some time, and there's a lot of time for new cards to come out that make these cards even better in that period before these cards get reprinted, and that will cause these cards to spike up in price. Okay, so let's look at the Flame Noble Knight stuff. So if you didn't know, Flame Noble Knights are top tier in the OCG and are very possibly going to be a top tier meta deck in the TCG here as well. They are really strong. I know I've seen several videos running around where people are showing off the power of the deck and the different combos it can pull off. Honestly, it does look really, really scary. So I believe what happened is that this was a structure deck in the OCG, but they scrapped that over here and they meshed it into this side set, kind of like what happened with the Pendulum Magicians being added to Pendulum Evolution. So because we aren't getting the rest of the Flame Noble Knight support until later this year in Rise of the Duelist, I think that a lot of people are going to pass on picking these cards up now. However, right when Toon Chaos drops, you should absolutely be grabbing as many copies of these key cards for the Flame Noble Knight deck as you can. From what I can see online, I believe that the Flame Noble Knight deck does play multiple copies of all of these cards. Immortal Phoenix Gearfried, the card on the far left, Renowned, the second card, Roland, the third card, and Sublimation Knight, which is the fourth card. Each of these cards is a pretty key card in the strategy, so you're going to want to grab multiple copies early on. However, with Gearfried and Renowned as ultra rares, I have no doubt that they are going to get quite expensive as we approach the release date of Rise of the Duelist, and then even Roland and Sublimation Knight as supers will still be worth a few dollars each. I think a lot of players here in the TCG maybe aren't necessarily forward looking, right? They think about the game as it is right now and they say, hey, you know, these Flame Noble Knight cards aren't doing too great. We don't know if they're going to be meta, so maybe we don't need to pick them up, we can sell them off. However, by looking at the trend of what's happening over in the OCG and knowing what cards are going to be coming out in Rise of the Duelist later this year, we can be proactive. We can grab these cards now and invest in them so that when Rise of the Duelist drops and people see, hey, you know, Flame Noble Knights are actually a pretty competitive deck, they're actually going to be meta relevant, then those prices go up. That's when we can offload them, or we can at the very least make sure that we already have these cards and we were able to get them at a much more affordable price without all of the hype. Now with these cards, I think you should wait a week or two for some of the initial hype to die down, because there is the initial hype of the set just being released and everyone kind of goes crazy. Things settle down, that's when you want to buy in. Feel free to jump in right after those prices dip and then sell them in August for pretty hefty profits. So I do know that there is like one Cybers card being imported and a couple of Fluffle cards, but really we've kind of addressed the main cards that we're getting here in the TCG. Now we are also getting a few solid reprints in Toon Chaos as well. Pot of Extravagance is one of the big ones that kind of drew everyone to the set. I don't think we really need to talk about it too much here. We all know what it does. Gamma is a card that was actually approaching $10 for its super rare reprint, which was pretty crazy, and the card does see quite a bit of play in the OCG, so I'm glad it's being reprinted here as well. Acid and Gossip Shadow aren't like the most in-demand cards here, but they've each only had one printing that was getting quite expensive, so it's nice to see them reprinted somewhere. Aside from these cards, I feel like none of the other reprints that we saw were really that great. Technically, I guess Lithosagem is cool, Witch of the Black Forest finally comes holo, and I guess Microcoder was okay because it was only available in the video game. But aside from those, I think the regular versions of all the reprinted cards are really disappointing, and that's a big thing that's going to discourage people from picking up the set. Honestly, I'm kind of in the same boat, right? Like if I saw a ton of good meta relevant or generic cards, then I'd be more inclined to say some of the better things, but really who cares about cards like Masked Hero Goka or Envoy of Chaos or Keeper of Dragon Magic? Like a lot of these reprints feel really unnecessary and underwhelming, which sucks. It also doesn't help that instead of being 4 super rares and a secret rare in each pack, like we've seen with many other side sets, we are now getting 6 rares. This is bad because it means the cards that are being reprinted for the most part aren't even holos, which hurts some of the set's long-term value. Normally what you could do is you could stockpile some of the better, more generic cards from the set like Manju or Allure of Darkness when those were reprinted in side sets, and those would generally creep up over time, right? With this set, that is actually a lot less likely now. I think that with a lot of these reprints, aside from like the main big ones, you're better off trying to unload them now while you can and while there's some sort of value still attached to them, because they may provide some solid short-term value as people think that the reprints are cool at first, but as non-holo reprints, they'll likely be overshadowed by a different holo version sometime in the future. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about in today's video is the collector's rares, and this is really like why you would want to go in on and invest in Toon Chaos in the first place. Like sure, Toons are really cool, right? Chaos cards have a lot of potential. Flame Noble Knights are probably going to be part of the meta, but the reason that you go in on this set and the reason that you're going to be able to make your value back is the fact that collector's rares are available in the set. Now apparently, collector's rares are 3 per case, which means about 1 in every 4 boxes, so they are easier to pull than a Starlight rare or a Ghost rare. However, a big challenge is that the set actually contains 15 different cards that are available as Starlight rares, so if you want to pull all 15 of them or you're looking for a specific one, assuming an even distribution, you would need to pick up 5 cases of product just to pull that one card. Realistically though, you are not pulling evenly, and even if you are chasing after all of them or a specific one, hopefully you are not buying product by the caseload until you pull them all. That seems really inefficient. Overall, I do think that we are going to see the collector's rares split into 2 tiers. One of them is going to be for your average collector's rare, so cards like Toon Harpy Lady or Chaos Valkyrie. This I think of as kind of like your lower end Starlight rare, right? Cards like Storm Dragon's Return or Gorgon Empress of the Evil Eye. However, the other end is going to be much higher end cards, right? Cards like regular Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, Pot of Extravagance, or Pot of Desires, which I think will carry a huge price tag, easily above $100, probably closer to like $200 to $300 a piece, maybe even as high as $400. It's hard to say because this is kind of unprecedented, right? But think of these as like ultimate rare reprints, where the card is never going to get a higher rarity version than this card, which is especially good for staple or very iconic cards, unless they randomly get like a Starlight rare treatment, kind of like Effect Veiler did. Obviously, there's exceptions with the Ghost Rare Stardust and the Ultimate Rare Pot of Desires, but those are more unique. Actually, I think that what's going to happen is that Collector's Rare Pot of Desires is going to be worth more than Ulti Desires, just because it is going to be the harder to pull rarity. But I guess we'll see. We can also look at something like Collector's Rare Gamma, which can be pretty comparable to something like Ulti Ghost Ogre or Ulti Droll Lockbird. Immortal Phoenix Gearfried is something that is going to be an important card in a meta deck played in multiples, right? So why wouldn't we expect it to be kind of expensive? Kind of like how Appaloosa and IP are among the more expensive Starlight rares because they are so meta relevant. And then with BLS, I kind of feel bad for it, right? Because before this, the only rarity of it that was like really cool was the Invasion of Chaos Ultra Rare First Edition print. It never got an ulti or any sort of other special high rarity print, despite BLS being one of the most iconic cards in the game. I am absolutely expecting Collector's Rare BLS to be at least a $200 card, just because of how collectible and iconic the card is. So yeah, I think there's a lot of long-term value here in the collector's rares, right? So those alone will make it a pretty interesting product to keep sealed and then just sit on. Or if you do want to open it because you want access to some of the cards, you can hold on to the collector's rares. And just like the Starlight rares, I do think that in the long term, they are going to appreciate in value. Kind of like how with Starlight Rare Appaloosa, we've seen it go from being down at around $400 a piece to now being what, like $1,200, $1,500. And sure, the collector's rares do make it a lot more fun to buy product and open packs with your friends. So if you can, don't forget to go and open some packs at your local game stores to support them. I'm sure that they need it now more than ever. But if you're talking about, hey, should I just buy a box for the sole purpose of being able to flip the contents for profit? If you're talking about just a single box, then no, because the potential downside outweighs the potential upside, right? Because you only have that 1 in 4 chance of pulling the collector's rares, and 99% of the time, that's where all of your value is coming back from. If you're talking about a case or multiple cases, you're probably not going to do too horribly, right? Assuming that the collector's rares, you're getting at least 1 or 2 of the higher tier ones. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. So I guess, like, to answer my question, should you be buying Toon Chaos? Well, that depends. If you want to pick up cards from the set, earlier on is absolutely going to be the time to do it, right? A lot of the cards in the set have the potential to go crazy in value as time goes on, so you may as well pick them up fairly early before they do have that chance to spike. That's also a really great time to go in and buy product, especially because there is such limited quantities available on the market, because so little of it is being produced and distributed that it's going to run out. So if you are going to get it early. Even a lot of the collector's rares, right? Given how collectible they are and how hard they are to pull, they're going to make really solid long-term holds. If you're talking about getting bang for your buck, I think that this set has really great value. It has some collectible stuff, it has some meta-relevant competitive cards, and then also stuff for casual fans that they will really like as well. And I do think that in terms of value, this is one of the best sets to be pulling from that we've gotten in a long time. But in terms of going out to just buy a box, open it for the sole purpose of flipping the cards for profit, no, you should not, because I don't think the expected value of any individual given box is going to be high enough if that's the sole thing that you're after. But don't let that discourage you, right? Go to your local game stores and support them. Open some packs with your friends. It's a lot of fun. And you know that feeling when you're like opening packs with a couple of your friends from the same box, and then one of you pulls the secret rare and then everyone else kind of groans? Well, imagine how much more fun that would be if you did it with a collector's rare. I did that with a couple of my friends, where I pulled a Starlight Rare Marincess Seahorse, and it's a great reaction. I highly recommend it if you guys do have the chance. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button for me. Also, let me know how much Toon Chaos will you be looking to pick up? What stuff from the set are you looking to grab early on, or are you going to wait? What's your strategy with the set? Also, guys, please, if you want to see more content like this, as well as lots of other amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content from both Tombox and myself, please consider hitting the subscribe button for us as well. And yeah, so until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.